Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Ninja Gaiden Compared. This is the first part in a long-standing series that I'm so excited to bring to you. And to start off, we've got Ninja Gaiden Black taking way too long to load. Oh my gosh, it took forever to load. I call this a first-time load. It's happened to me before. I don't know what causes it, but this was the first time loading the game on the Xbox 360 as far as the Xbox 360 was concerned, at least for this file, so that might be the only explanation I can give. Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Gaiden Black were both played on an Xbox 360. They're good versions of the game. It didn't require any upscaling to record and get a good scene. Speaking of scenes, this was added in Black going forward into, of course, Sigma, the PlayStation version, and then Sigma Plus, which is, this is played on Steam. It's the Master Collection version of Sigma Plus. I say that in quotes because it's not quite the Vita version, but it's got all the features of the Vita versions. For simplicity, we'll keep it kind of Sigma Plus. Rolls off a lot better than Master Collection. Unfortunately, there is no audio in Sigma Plus. The speaker icon represents where you're hearing the audio at any given time. There might be 2 or even 3. We'll see as time goes on. But Sigma Plus, unfortunately, will get no audio throughout this first chapter. And that is indicative of the issues that I ran into throughout its production. The recording, the playing the game, there were so many problems that prevented this from going straight from recording outputting into video, and I continue to have those issues to this day, but there was a lot of learning and there's a lot of good that came out of it and a continuous improvement. This just keeps getting better, and I'm just getting more and more excited in spite of the roadblocks along the way. One thing to note, I mean, I just demonstrated it kind of subtly on 2 of the versions there, is to you can hold down the ultimate technique charge with a heavy attack, and it will cycle through stronger and stronger. It will slowly charge up into stronger versions of the ultimate technique on both on all 3 versions of Black, Sigma, and Sigma Plus, but not the original Ninja Gaiden. It's kind of a technological or a technique difference. Speaking of technological difference, Ayane does do voiceover in both Black and Sigma, but doesn't do it. They didn't do it in the original Ninja Gaiden, as they didn't even really introduce the character in the opening cutscene all that well either. It's like, where are these even coming from? And then in Sigma Plus, they also scrapped the audio. I think it was just too difficult to get that particular voice actress into the booth to give the exact same lines or update a few lines here and there, and it is unfortunate. But oddly enough, Black and Sigma both have voiceover of the tips, tricks, and tutorials that Ayane offers up throughout the game. Unfortunately, I won't be able to demonstrate that too often, but as we can see, Ninja Gaiden keeps it very consistent in that opening fight. We've got 2 brown ninjas across both, all of the versions, regardless of, of all the changes throughout. A lot of the enemy placements stayed relatively similar, and I'm really, really surprised to see that, that format, despite the fact you could add, a charging up ultimate, for instance. The combat remains very much the same across all the versions, and the difficulty stays, as much as, maybe an item changes here or there. And the visuals are a big, big part of what you're seeing now, as they completely redesigned, I think, the first 3 chapters. A ton of rooms, environments, and scenes get kind of updated and changed. Primarily in those first 3 chapters, and I wonder if it's because a lot of players who rented the game couldn't beat, the 3rd chapter boss, as the lore goes of this game, and nobody could beat it. Well, that aside, I think that the visual update for this game is beautiful. It's at its best in Sigma Plus, in my opinion. Like, Sigma looks good, but Sigma Plus just finishes the job and does a really good job of it. I think Ninja Gaiden Black and Ninja Gaiden both hold up remarkably well, and unfortunately I won't be able to demonstrate the 4K upscale, sort of like, not really AI upscale, but like there's just sort of systematically or program upscaled versions that are available on the Xbox, as I don't currently have a Series X or an Xbox One X. Or a 1S, mind you. Incredibly difficult to get, and I felt like maybe a little inaccessible in some senses, because those versions did require consoles that were at the time really hard to get. Still aren't that easy to get, but still more people are getting their hands on them. Moving on. This is a comparison of Ninja Gaiden's audio versus what they did with Sigma. Now you'll notice we've got this sort of like droning, hornish sounding instrument over top, just sort of just stings in like piano. And then we'll see in Ninja Gaiden Sigma they updated the audio track for certain combat sequences to kind of break up the pacing. I don't even notice it when I'm playing it. I can't say if it's good or bad because it's, like I said, almost negligible. However, it is one of the few audio changes in the game. And you'll see in Ninja Gaiden Black, they kept the same kind of music structures, the same song going throughout as you climb the fortress. But right now, I'm going to do something a bit excessive. All three versions of the game that had audio are playing at the same time. This is to demonstrate what is never going to happen and why it won't happen. It is so hard to keep track of everything that's going on, even with limited action, because the overlaying tracks all together, they don't really pan up together. You can't really draw focus to anything. But to draw focus to something in Sigma Plus, I decided to put on the Furious Tiger Helm. In Vita, the Vita version, Sigma Plus, they decided to add some of these kind of goofy add-ons, but also subtle add-ons that do, I should say, like equipment or like a glove or a helmet that's very subtle in most cases, except for this one. It really kind of draws attention to itself. I believe it increases defenses but lowers attack. It's similar to certain armlets in the game as well. I don't want to misquote which ones. Could be sun or moon. I can't remember which is which. One thing that is also really important is that we'll be kind of changing around like the format for how the screen's oriented, and there might be a harsh cut once in a while if things like I maybe backtrack a little heavy on one version. This room looks almost to be the exact same, and my eyes keep going back to Sigma Plus for that visual fluidity. It looks so good. It's like every frame is beautiful, not chopped out. It doesn't feel slowed down. It's amazing. The chest placement in here is really odd because they give you the Lives of 1,000 Gods in Sigma Plus in the corner, and then they give you the Flying Swallow technique at the same spot in Sigma and Sigma Plus. And I thought it was interesting because the Flying Swallow is usually reserved for level 2 of the Dragon Sword, but it is by far one of the most important techniques for beginning players. One thing that was also really interesting is that there isn't a second item in Ninja Gaiden or Ninja Gaiden Black, but we haven't seen that second item in Sigma, despite the fact that Sigma is going to check the exact spot where Sigma... Yeah, like right there, we can see there's no chest there. Odd. And then when we go back to that room, we'll see that there was another chest that appeared, and they both appear, I think, after the room is cleared. So this is like an infinitely spawning enemy room. It becomes kind of like your first true test of endurance. And one thing that hopefully you'll see a bunch is on landing, and I'm practicing it as much as possible. It's on landing ultimate technique, just where you jump in the air, and at the exact second you fall, like there in Ninja Gaiden, you absorb the yellow essence. And it's the single most strategic and important technique that I learned. And it really evolves the gameplay for Ninja Gaiden. It really does. In my original playthrough of Sigma, I didn't even know it existed. And I think it really allows you to conquer the end game, to really scale, and it's not easy, and mastering it is incredible. It really, I make it look painful throughout, and I think I did pretty well. I just get so much better at it throughout the game. And this is where the checkpoint system really comes into play. You'll see that black, you know, is the first to reach the checkpoint. Ninja Gaiden original easily meets the checkpoint. What ends up happening in Sigma, funny enough, as we're going to be focusing on that for a small amount of time, is I keep hitting the door that you enter, which resets the spawning quantity of all the enemies. So it just resets the whole room to no gain. Like, you don't gain it. See, another reset. It's almost ridiculous. I do apologize if this seems a little dark. I'm not sure if it is a fair representation of what I saw or experienced, as it's been a little too long. Might be something I addressed in the hard version of the game. I don't know if it was HDCP because I had to record how I had to record it, but essentially it is much darker than Sigma Plus, and I mean, it still looks pretty good. It's really, to me, not a problem. You see the flying swallow coming in big there, and me just chewing through essence like it doesn't even matter. But yeah, this is my first playthrough. This is an authentic, you know, back to form game where I'm just, you know, no shame, flying swallow everything, and you know, we get through life. Sometimes it's not pretty, but this is what it looks like. Speaking of pretty, wow, the blood everywhere. Some people love that aspect of this game. It's just the blood pooling and just staying on the ground long enough for you to appreciate a bloodied battlefield. And certainly for me, it's I think an artistic flair. I appreciate it. But it's not the be-all, end-all. I mean, to me, it's really about how visceral the combat really feels. Like, does it feel? Is it fun, engaging? Is it holding my attention? And nothing beats the edge of your seat, gripping combat. But it's not so oppressive and memorization focused. It's such an action game, and it really does nearly perfect the format in its first go at the game. Its first go at the genre, I should say. It's remarkable what they accomplished. So let's focus back up on the comparison part. I could wax poetic about this game till your ears fall off. As we fall down into the next section of this comparison, this is a great little example of what you can do with this comparison. Is you can see all the items just show up. It's all the same. So for me, it's a balancing thing. I don't think of items as anything particularly like it's about the whole of the experience. It is about balancing where you have to go, how long you have to deal with it, and what the risks are involved. A running theme throughout this particular playthrough is I love to kill bats. I used to get just nastily destroyed by bats in early playthroughs of the game. So I actually do spend a lot of time cleaning out bats, taking as little damage as I can in most cases, just to fulfill that. So we are able to grab Ayane's... oh, that's a great point of difference, actually, to talk about the item system. So as we pick up Ayane's instructions, we can use on-the-fly healing items with the directional pad, so we don't need to pause. And it does allow us to, it's like frame interrupt. I believe we can heal in frames where normally you couldn't pause to heal. So you basically is some of the strongest healing options in the game. It's not intuitive, and it's kind of scary to have that menu out in my mind, because sometimes you accidentally use the wrong item, and at this level of play, when you get to the level that I'm used to playing at, that just feels bad. It doesn't feel good. And I would like to show it. All four gave us a nice free healing item, and Sigma, on the bottom left, is about to find the next chest, the Lives of the Thousand Gods, that was hiding there seemingly the whole time. Who knows? So now we're up to scratch. Every game has basically essentially the same items, except we have a technique upgrade, the Flying Swallow, and I like that technique. I think it's a good technique. If you wanted to make the argument that it cheapens it, it makes it so you don't earn it, I don't know. I feel that considering considering the difficulty curve of the original, I mean, of course I'm getting into like the nitty-gritty here, but when you consider how difficult it already is, I feel like giving someone that option early on, it adds to kind of the fun of the experience because it does give you kind of an out, and it's a gap closer. These techniques are vital to the end game. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you want, you know, to force players to have to go through the same grueling experience or to get beat up like you did, you know, that's one way to experience life. But for me, I want people to enjoy the best that the game has to offer, and I think gap closers in action games are quintessential to it now. I feel like we all understand that, and you know, there's really not really much to debate when it comes to if you have one or you don't, you know, if it's better or if it isn't. That's the thing with the old school. It's difficult to sometimes come to a compromise. However, we're going to be noticing here that we are going to be farming a little bit of essence. This is a nice matchup. Two versions, basically brother and sister. That's funny, B and S. So we've got Ninja Gaiden Black. We've got a beautiful on-land technique into an ultimate. We're getting great essence farm. Sigma, we've got blood that's almost too dark and coagulated. It's terrifying in a sense. But it has a bit more permanence to the battlefield than in Black, which has just finished up the room, and Sigma does a pretty good job for a first playthrough. I think there's going to be at least another white ninja to deal with here. Someone could go through and just count all the ninjas across all the versions to see if there's actually any difference. Again, we're looking at kind of a mechanics mostly comparison here. It's, you know, it's the rooms, it's the enemies, it's the difficulty. You know, it has so little to do with just generally the visual comparison. We're talking about the meat and potatoes here. I guess, you know, you can plate the dish however nice you want, but if, you know, you don't feel sustained, you're not satisfied by that particular experience, there's nothing to talk about. However, I think it is worth evaluating your options. If you love and adore Ninja Gaiden Black, I think the upgraded Series X and 1X versions of the game, they're awesome. Get them, play them, give it a try for sure. There are issues with those versions that we'll cover near the end of the series. I don't want to spoil anything. Let's focus on this. So we've got the first room, all white ninja, hectic. Luckily, for a seasoned veteran such as myself, you'll notice in the other versions, I am just relentless. I am just going at it full tilt. And we do see the audio differences as well, the music choice for that fight. I kind of like Sigma here. It adds to that tension. You know, you get a false sense of security out of Black with that sort of atmospheric, you know, droning soundtrack. Ninja Gaiden does fall behind here, barely holding on to life. I think because of the lack of you know, free charge and ultimates, but could be mostly due to play. However, let's focus on the single most important cutscene of this game. So, I really want to draw attention to, obviously there are differences in all the versions, but the lighting change in Black blew me away. Look at the lighting difference between Ninja Gaiden and Black. There is a complete color change. I thought there might be a lighting change, but I wasn't sure. This totally confirms it. I think the lighting is much brighter. It's not that the shadows are darker, but it's that the brights are brighter. So this is going to be a complete sort of comparison here of the fight, of a breakdown. And again, you can't unnotice it once you see it. And it's not every room that's going to have lighting differences. And another big thing to look out for, that I'm getting you ready to check for, is going to be the model change in Ryu in the original versus the final version during cutscenes, and I think even throughout gameplay. His shoulders in particular are interesting. Ayana takes a ton of changes, and Mirai even has sort of like facial changes depending on the version. When it comes to this fight, I guess across all the versions, there isn't really any difference that I could notice. It was all about play it safe, you know, let him charge, punish him when he does, and that's, you know, hopefully you get lucky and don't take too much damage, you know, trying to maximize. Now this is also a great comparison. The original Ninja Gaiden against its, you know, most recent version. It's the quote-unquote the greatest version of it, the most recent. And you can see that Ninja Gaiden holds up remarkably well against Sigma Plus. Like, I mean, in this particular comparison, we don't necessarily see one looking that much better or necessarily, like, this game holds up. You don't need to get the best version of this game to have a great time, to have a good experience. And I stand by that. But let's get into the final cutscene here. As Ninja Gaiden's going to end strong, good health. I think we end on a walkout, a little back and forth with Mariah. Look, I'm desperately trying to find. There we go. So you do have different cutscenes running at different frame rates. So there is some timing issues at times, but trust me, it all lines up when it really needs to. And this Ayane scene is different in Ninja Gaiden Black than it is in all the others. And that to me blew my mind when I first saw it. And we can see the model of Ryu is vastly different in Ninja Gaiden than in Ninja Gaiden Black. His shoulders are different, lighting's a bit different. They did some changes. And then, of course, Sigma and Sigma Plus. I mean, you can see that scar in Sigma Plus. You almost can't see because it's a little blurry in Sigma. And then that scar is way more obvious in Ninja Gaiden Black than it is in the original. And we can see Ryu differences here. His face mask looks a little different. His model seems like thinner, longer in the face than in the original. And I mean, I could just, this scene in particular, going by frame, being able to just stare at it like it was like a piece of art was just brilliant. And I really recommend anyone who has the time to just take a few seconds and really look at this. Now, Ayane's model is ridiculous how much they changed this character. It's nuts. It's like you're looking at almost three different models for that character. And we can see a foreboding, you know, enticing end to the Chapter 1 comparison. Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to putting out the next part, hearing your feedback about this one, if there's anything I missed, more things I need to add. Again, have yourselves a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching. Take care.